Derrick Henry, the human bowling ball pin crusher, led the NFL, 303 totes and over 1,500 yards, adding 83 more carries and nearly 500 yards in the Titans' improbable playoff run. Now OC Arthur Smith says they'll try to limit Henry's workload coming up in 2020. Oh, as we know, Henry's playing this season on the franchise tag. So in or out, Teak, it's wise for the Titans long-term to limit Henry's workload this season.
Yeah, I'm going to say inbounds of this, BT. Obviously, every team has depth at running back. There's not a lot on their roster right now. They're going to say, oh, yeah, that guy's great, but it's young money on that roster right now. So they can wear guys out if they need to and save Derrick Henry. I honestly think that they might get a long-term deal done with him. He's playing on the franchise tag. This is before the deadline, which is July 17th, 15th, or somewhere around there. So they still have over a month to get a long-term deal with him, and they have cap space to do so as long as they get creative with it. The number is probably about 12 for him per year on average.
Yep.
So he's fine playing at 10, but I think they might get a long-term deal. And if you're going to get a long-term deal with him, it's best to save him as much as you can.
Definitely one great way to answer it. I'm going to say inbounds, but less about the future about long-term deal, which certainly might apply as Tiki just chronicled there. But I'm just thinking more, bigger picture to the season, and maybe not bigger picture to the, to the rest of the decade or to the early part of the decade, if he stays with the Tennessee Titans. I just think that, first of all, A.J. Brown it enters year 2 as a certifiable star. I mean, how many NFL receivers have 52 receptions and are over 1,000 yards? That's what this young man did.
That's a lot of yards after the catch, man.
He is a third-level smasher. He runs like the wind. I believe he had 8 or 9 touchdowns. Well, only started 11 games. Didn't start the first few, and then he started popping with Tannehill. Obviously, Tannehill enters with a different sort of confidence here. You've got to spread the offense, but listen, what you do is you have when it's game time, like you go to Mariano Rivera. When it's time to seal it, you go to the big boy to shut the door. And at that point, you can't start worrying about touches and carries. But just in terms of the diversity of the offense and being unpredictable, as Coach Smith touched on, and also for him to be fresh for the rest of this season, December, January for them. Hopefully for them, then I think the answer is inbounds any way you cut it, especially, if you want to give them a couple-of-year extension, which they probably will. I think we're on the same page. Inbounds, win games, use them properly, but use them. I mean, he's a football player. Use him. So my Jets have about $25 million in cap space after a recent. They just cut Tremaine Johnson. Thank God, what a horrendous signing he was. So right now, 5th most in the NFL behind the Browns, the Skins, the Lions, and the Eagles. The Jets, as we know, always searching for a sack master. 23rd in sacks a year ago. It was pretty much just scheme. Otherwise, they would have been dead last. They had just 35. Many believe they would pursue Jadeveon Clowney this offseason. Now, Rich Cimini, one of the good guys, a long-time Jets ESPN writer, used to be with the Daily News, reports the team never had serious interest in Clowney, even after the former number 1 pick lowered his tag to about $17 million a season. So, in or out, the Jets should give Clowney a long-term deal worth at least $17 million per season.
I'm going to say out of bounds of that, BT, only because I like Jadeveon Clowney, and I think if he's on a team that's closer towards contention than the Jets, then he's going to be very valuable for them. But right now, given a little bit of a troubling injury history, early in his career, some effort issues. I just don't know if he's the right guy for a up-and-coming Jets defense to put their money behind, which when you put your money behind, you become the guy that you look to in the locker room as well.
Yep.
So I'm going to say out of bounds. It has nothing to do with him as a talent. I think it's more just it's not the right fit in my mind.
Hey, listen, I agree. Now, that's not to say that, on, I don't know, August 9th or whatever, the Jets sign him, I'm not going to be ecstatic. He's a player. Of course, I'd be fired up, and you would feel that watching and listening to the show. But big picture, it's not the right move. The Jets are not, their trajectory is not where it needs to be in terms of making this kind of move. I don't think that they're aligned right now. But I got news for you. I think it would be better signing for the Giants.
Yeah.
Where the Giants are. Cause I think the Giants roster is better. Now, I mean, if you ever, my answer is out of bounds, but just for a moment, if you ever did it, you'd have Clowney on the first level, C.J. Mosley on the second level, and Jamal Adams on the third level, with Greg Williams hitting all those buttons. I'm not saying it wouldn't be interesting, but that's what got the Jets in trouble in the first place. You got to draft, you've got to develop, you've got to build weaponry around Sam Darnold. I like what Joe Douglas has done. I'm not saying I wouldn't be somewhat enthused and somewhat enticed to do it myself, but the prudent play right now is not to do that. I agree, out of bounds. As the NBA approves a 22-team restart without fans, teams are discussing incentives to give the top seeds a home court advantage in the playoffs. Now, some of the proposed ideas include giving the higher seed possession to start each quarter. Okay.
Come on.
Giving them an extra coach's challenge, whatever, that's meaningless. Allowing them to bring their own hardwood floor from their home arena. That I kind of like, in their logos. That's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. I think that should be done. And even allowing them to select hotel accommodations. Now, can they then select where the opponent stays? Like, put them in a 2-star Fleabag motel while they're staying at the Four Seasons? In or out? The NBA must give incentives to the top 4 seeds, in each conference.
I think a couple of these are, I'm going to say inbounds only because of the couple of that are interesting. Like the hardwood floor is cool.
That's very cool.
I think the Disney Resort said ship them down. You know, all of you ship your courts down. And I think that's smart. I mean, it's not going to actually do anything, but it is kind of aesthetically and maybe just a little bit perceptually gives you a little bit of an advantage. I think that's it. But other than that, I can't see. I'm going to say inbounds, but tepidly. To your point, BT, it's not. What do you get? Extra coaches challenge? So, you get an extra timeout. You know, extra foul. What do you actually start?
I don't know.
So yes, but no. I think is my answer.
But the motivation is derived from a good place because it is inherently unfair to play 80% of a season, assert your dominance, and then basically go to start the playoffs and everybody's on the same level. I get it. Yeah. I know why they're trying to do this. Listen, that Disney place, I told you I've been there. What I don't want to see is like Mickey Mouse ears on at the hash mark, which is basically at the which is what they have right now. Aesthetically, it's got to pop. I've got to sit down there and I've got to watch the Bucks and the Celtics in a playoff game, and I got to see the Bucks logo. And then when it's, if you actually try to replicate the different home and home, we probably wouldn't do that. That's too many hardwoods, I guess. But, and then you can kind of make sure you don't pan through the empty seats too often. Just keep it on the arena floor with a big Bucks logo, a big Lakers logo. I'm all good with that. That's fine. I'd say inbounds. Yeah, that's cool.
Tune in next time for another edition of Inbounds or Out of Bounds with Tiki and Tierney.